Hey everyone, welcome to ITD Gaming Appetizers. Do you own a huge disc collection? Did you buy a digital console? Well, if you bought a Microsoft console, they may have the answer for you of a patent that they filed around the same time that the Xbox Series S came out, called the Software Ownership Validation of Optical Disc Using Secondary Device. What a mouthful. Basically, this patent was spotted by GamerAnt. And so basically what it sounds like it allows you to do, it's rather detailed, but really what it sounds like it allows you to do is to basically reserve a digital copy of your game on a console, another console that has a disk drive on it and an internet connection. So you got a console, you got a disk drive, you got an internet connection. Put the disk in, log into your account, and basically gives you a digital copy of that game. I've got some questions about what that ultimately means, and do you have to sometimes renew that digital key, like put the disc back in every so often so it registers that you own that game? Because if not, what happens if I register the digital game and then go back to GameStop and trade it in? You know, what happens with all of that? You know, there's a whole lot of crap that I got questions about. And that's probably why it's not come up yet, because when I was looking at the article from Kotaku, they basically explained that the patent came out around the same time that the series, November 2020, basically, when the Series S digital only console was released. So we'll kind of go around the room and see what everybody thinks about this, and see why Microsoft hasn't pushed this out yet. Maybe they're dealing with some of those legal loopholes, like I just mentioned. Like I could put the disc in and then go to GameStop or any other used retailer and sell my disc, but I still have a digital reservation copy of that. So Shane, what do you think about this one, man?
Well, as we all know, I will screw up any of the tech talk big time. Because that's not me. But what is me is being able to play my old games. The ideal of being able to do this is pretty cool, but Pat's right. I mean, what's to keep people from just ripping and just throwing it, on their console and then just taking it back to GameStop saying, hey man, it didn't work. Or trading it in for, they bought it for $20 game. They ripped it, put it on their good console, took it back, and resold it to GameStop for 15 cents. So, I mean, it's a really cool idea, but now that Pat ruined it for me with the whole what can they do to rip it off, it's weird. But the ideal of being able to play, my old Xbox games over there, 360, Xbox One, that's really cool. But will it work with every old game, though? I mean, I don't understand, because they only backwards compatible some games. Is that because they, like I said, I'm not a tech guy, but is that because they couldn't do some games? That's why some games didn't get back compat? It just doesn't work with the systems. I don't know. But, I mean, for somebody like myself, and especially Nick, being able to just drop in an old disc and give me reason to purchase more old discs, I like that idea, because I don't purchase enough old Xbox games because I don't have a old Xbox anymore. I have, my new one, and that's good enough. But I would love to have an old one again, but I don't want to have to deal with all that. But I like the idea of just being able to do this, throw in my game, being able to play it. I can go to use game stores, swap meets, whatever, find an old Xbox game, buy it, be happy. I like the ideal, but I don't understand the whole, the way it's going to work. I read the article and I was very confused by the tech stuff, which is not unusual for me. So, but hey, if I can play some brute force, I'm happy. So what about you, Nick?
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea. I don't think it would work with games that are not in the backwards compatibility log. I would assume it would only work with games that have a digital footprint already on Xbox, and those games that aren't in that back compat do not. So there's no digital version of those to be able to download. It's a very interesting idea, though, as far as like, I don't know. I don't get the, I mean, how do you get around people just throwing in a disc and taking it and returning it, right? Because now they have a digital copy of it. And you're right, Pat. I mean, eventually you would have to either reinsert that disc, or, I mean, like, and it talks about in the article, it talks about having two consoles, basically, in a sense, having an Xbox Series X and S. So it's like, are most people going to have those two consoles? Maybe, maybe not. But, more than likely, probably not. They're going to have one or the other. And then so, sure, you could go to a friend's house that has the Xbox Series X. But then that comes into the problem of like, sure, you download Tomb Raider on there, right? Because you don't have it and your friend does, or maybe you have a physical version of it, but you got the S. So you log into your account, put that disc in to get yourself a digital account. And then what happens like a couple of weeks later and it stops working? You call up your friend, hey, can you put that disc in again? Right? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's really, because people that buy the digital version, the S, they know what they're getting into. So is there really a need for this? We had talked about this before, kind of talking about this, the idea of this happening, because, this patent is kind of, it's an older patent. So we've kind of known some stuff about it. And we all talked about it before. And, our first initial thoughts were an optical disk drive that they were going to sell for the S. And that would make more sense to sell a peripheral that you can plug in USB to the Xbox Series S and be able to pop your discs in. Then I would think that would be easier to get around that stuff than what they're trying to do here. They're trying to circumvent the disk drive, right, in some sort of way. But it's like, but trying to get disc-based games onto a digital console by circumventing the fact of having to have a disk drive, essentially, right? Being able to log into someone's Xbox or even your own, pop in a disc, and now you have a digital copy of it. But the other thing too is like, whenever you buy a game or, right now, if you have a disc of that game, you pop it into your Xbox, you can, it downloads that digital copy anyway. But it doesn't keep playing if you take the disc out. Like if you take the disc out, it'll tell you insert the disc, even though you really have a digital copy onto your Xbox. So is it really just getting around that DRM basically of just not having the disc for authentication? And Patrick's exactly right. How long does that last, before it requires that again? So what do you think, Pat?
Yeah, it's a little confusing reading it, because reading it, there's a lot of like device 1 and device 2 and so on and so forth. I think what they mean by that is that if you have like a 360 or an OG Xbox or even an Xbox One, that you put the disc in that unit. And the way it almost reads, so it either could be one of two ways I'm reading this. And the one way is that you log into it, you put the disc in on the device, you logged into your Microsoft account, and it registers as a digital. But it almost sounds like that whatever device you put that disc in, it has to stay in that device, that machine, while you're playing it on the other machine. So it means that if you have an Xbox 360 game physical and you want to play it and it's backwards compatible and you want to play it on your Series S, you leave it in, it's on the same network, it's in your system, it's allowed, your system accesses that and says, okay, I'm allowed to play that, and installs it and stuff like that. So it sounds like it could go one of two ways, and knowing Microsoft and knowing piracy, that's probably the route it's going, is that you leave it in your Xbox 360, it's signed into your Microsoft account, and then it checks the device and says, oh yeah, look, you have that disc in that device, I'm going to allow you to download it and play it on this one. And that's how they prevent you from doing just what we just talked about, which is registering it digitally and then taking that physical copy and trading it in, because that's what people do. People are going to try to pull one over as much as they can. It's the nature of certain people out there, that's what they do. So really, in a sense, it sounds like you're using device 1 as a network disk drive. That's what it sounds like. So that has to stay on your network, has to stay on, disk has to stay in, and while you're playing the other one. So you still have to go in, and that's what it almost sounds like. So there's a lot of this device 1 on local network, device 2 on local network, or device 1 on another local network somewhere else with an internet connection between the two of them. There's a whole lot of round robin going on there. So it almost sounds like that rather than the other method I had mentioned. So like I said, basically you're using that other console as a virtual disk drive, and it still has to be inside when you want to play it, which is stupid. But
yeah.
unlike, like me, I don't have a whole lot of that stuff. I have some games, but I don't have the older consoles, so it's not going to help me out, right? It is if I want to play them because I have an X. I don't have an S, but if you have an S and you don't have your Xbox One, your 360, or your OG Xbox, and you have all those games, and you're SOL at this point, it sounds like.
Yeah, but how would that work with the original Xbox? So you would still have to connect it to the internet.
Or your local network of some way. Yeah, you get the USB NIC for it.
I don't think they made a wireless adapter for the original.
They had a USB NIC for the original OG.
Yeah, but there was the only thing with the original Xbox is there were no accounts. You didn't have an account on the original Xbox.
Which means that device is going to do a local discovery.
Plus, I don't think you can stay logged in to another account when you're or to another console when you're logged into another one. Can you? Can you stay logged into multiple consoles?
Yep. I have my Series X still here, and it's logged in, and I can log into it, and the other one at the same time. It doesn't kick me out or anything.
It doesn't kick you out
because it's a different console's family. Now, if I log in when I did have my one and my other one, if I logged into the other one that's in my daughter's room, it would boot me out of my other account.
Okay, because it's a different family of consoles. That's why I got you.
Yeah. So
now,
but I think it's probably going to be a local network discovery thing, right? Because like you said, the OG didn't have online. So it'll just detect Xboxes on the network and say, okay, I recognize that firmware, and it can access its digital drive.
Like I said, I'm not a tech guy, but it just seems like it would be better to make a disc reader that you could plug right into your Series S or your Series X.
But Microsoft would have said, well, you should have bought a Series X then at that point.
No, Don Matrick got fired, so that kind of shit ain't gonna happen. But when I first heard about this, before this article, there was a rumor or something like that. I remember it was, man, that's a cool idea. I think we even kind of joked around about it a little bit during our board game weekend. And I like the ideal of just, a little plug thing. I can plug in, I can drop in a 360, an OG, Xbox, whatever, and be able to play it on my consoles. And that's what I thought they might be going with. But now this just irritates and sucks because it sounds overcomplicated. It sounds just sounds like a cluster F. So
right. And for all I know, it may not support the OG Xbox, right? Like you said, there's no accounts or anything like that. So they're just thinking if you have a 360 or a One that you have lying around, you just pop those older discs that are backwards compatible in that machine, and it registers that you own it, and then you try to access it with the secondary console. So, I mean, this is all hearsay for now because we don't have this ability now. So, I honestly, it seems less useful when I think of it as that second method rather than just registering a digital copy of the game. At that point, I mean, the only way that Microsoft could ensure that something like that piracy doesn't happen is that you have to go to they could use GameStop or Walmart or partner with somebody and say, bring your disc in, we'll digitize it, and then we'll destroy the disc, But that defeats the purpose of anybody who wants to keep physical copies around for nostalgia in their collection. So, because I mean, there really is no way to prevent anybody from taking that and digitizing it and then selling that used copy back or doing what you guys just mentioned. I don't think it'll ever happen for new games, but buying a game like they used to back in the modded Xbox days where you go buy or rent a game, load it on your Xbox, and you don't need the disc anymore type stuff, So
yep, the good old days.
The days of piracy.
Toshiba, I think Toshiba said that the disk drive is making a comeback. So,
well, thumb drives are all well and good for what they serve, but sometimes you just need a good old CD-ROM.
Oh yeah.
I'm waiting for a floppy disk to make a comeback.
Oh man,
the big 3.5, the big floppy,
the big floppy.
Yeah. No, it's kind of disappointing that they're going this weird ass route. I don't know if it's for DRM stuff. They're trying to protect their games or whatever. They think this will work better. I don't know, but I say even let it plug it, even set it into your PC and let your PC do all that tech crap.
PCs don't come with disk drives anymore either. But the other thing
I
to remember,
one in my new one.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you got to remember is that this is just a patent, and patents don't always become something. They could just remain a patent and never flourish into something. So we could see this never becoming anything. Truly.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot, though. Wasn't there a heartbeat or finger sensor or something like that Nintendo or Sony was really big about for a few years that seemed to be hearing about? And where the hell did that thing go? I'm still waiting to check my heartbeat while I'm playing, Ninja Turtles, damn it.
I remember when they came out with the Rumble Pack and the for the N64, and then everybody made fun of it at the time, thinking they're going to make a smell pack and all this stuff. And it's funny to see how the Rumble Pack, what it blew into. Like everything has freaking Rumble now.
Oh, and don't forget the greatest achievement in controllers, wireless, the Wavebird. The Wavebird came out for GameCube. Was it GameCube or was it 64? It was GameCube.
Yeah, GameCube for sure.
And that, nobody else is doing wireless. Boom. Wavebird came out. Now I can sit a lot further back, buy a bigger TV. Thank you, Wavebird.
Sit all the way across the room and play your video games like we do now.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, this patent was two years ago, 2020, November 2020, when the consoles came out. So in November this year, it'll be 2 years. So nothing has happened with it yet. I'm sure Microsoft is still trying to wrestle with, is it worth it? Like, I would probably imagine the majority, 60 to 75% of console owners don't have the old consoles anymore. They probably got rid of them to trade in for the new one, or they gave them away to friends or whatever. They don't have an old, if they bought a Series X or S, they probably may not have their old Xbox One or Xbox 360 running around anymore. I mean, maybe some people still do, but I would say the majority of consumers don't, right? So this isn't really going to help those people. Now, the collectors, they probably still got every one of those things running around their house. So, and they probably bought an X and didn't buy no Series S, more than likely. Collectors are buying the disc version because they thought ahead and they're like, I want my disc to be playable in the future.
Yeah. That was one thing you could look forward to with the next gen consoles. Back in the day was, they would say, oh yeah, you can play all your old games. Awesome. Great. I'll upgrade, sell the old one. Now it's, you don't get any of that. And that sucks butt. So.
Yeah. Lots of butt sucking.
All right. Anybody else got anything on this one? They want to put this one to bed or stop the sucking the butt?
Stop sucking the butt.
All right. Well, if you made it this far with us and you didn't suck the butt like Shane said or Nick said, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications and tell all your friends. We don't suck a lot of butts over here, but you can tell your friends they do. So maybe we'll get some more subscribers, some more likes. And as always, we hope you enjoyed this episode and we hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.